welcome to another episode of Asexualize My Asexual Life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my own asexual life. Subscribed, hit that great big subscribe button right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. So in today's video, I want to be discussing with you what asexual views are of kinks and BDSM as part of the Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month series of videos. So we've now gone into the next day. It's like 4:35 a.m. in the UK when I'm actually live streaming this, when we're going to crack on with the show. We're going to start with Philippa Duke, and she's on page 33 of Asexual Perspectives book. So, being raised in a highly open and honest sexual environment where nothing is taboo to talk about, I don't kink shame. Some I really don't understand, and some are actually illegal. So if it is really dark kink lumping, I will obviously not approve. As long as nobody dies or ends up with mental scars or is subject to abuse they don't want, I'm fine with it. That's Philippa Duke's story. And then we're going to go on to the next person. So this is Nikki's story. Nikki, as long as there is consent, kinks and the like are great and can add layers and intimacy to a relationship if mutual interests are shared. So that person's like pro kinks, you know, because they think they're great. And can add layers to intimacy to a relationship if mutual interests are shared. Very, very interesting, that one. So then we're going to go on to the next person. So let's get that ready. I got my little bookmarks in. So so this is Victoria's story, page 109 of Asexual Perspectives book, printed edition. I personally am not into BDSM, nor do I have kinks that I'm aware of. I obviously don't mind it if other people have them. Then we're going on to Adelaide's story. Whatever floats your boat, I personally am not interested in any of those things, but we are all individuals and with different experiences of life. And that is so true, you know. I mean, I personally, where I stand on BDSM and kinks, I personally hate them. You know, like I hate the whole concept of pleasure through pain. I have a pain condition, fibromyalgia, and I'm like, there's enough pain in my body without going through all that, you know. I'm rather like a delicate butterfly, because with fibromyalgia, it's a chronic pain condition that affects the nerves and muscles of the body. And even someone like hugging me can hurt me, and someone put their arm around me, even though I love that type of thing. So for me, I don't find pleasure in pain, to be quite frank. And I don't even like the word kinks. This is my personal opinion. I have a friend who is into some BDSM stuff, okay? And so, you know, if others do that and it's consensual and they like it, they enjoy it, you know, that's up to them. So, you know, we're very different in that respect. But it's good to be different. It's good, like you know, for me to have a friend that's not the same as me. You know, but I personally, like, I don't have any kinks or fetishes or anything like that. I just like the whole word just really puts me off the word kink. Right. So Carrie Ann, page 186. They don't bother me, but they also aren't my interest, she says. So that's really interesting that they're not her interest. Right. So then we go to Fiora's story, 218. BDSM, I can see why people are into it, but my kinks are a bit different. Kinks, I actually have a few of them. Some of them are weird, but mostly aren't. They usually involve role-playing superheroes or literacy characters, but not in a sexual fashion, just in a cute romantic way. I've actually heard of other asexual people say that that they have like they role play and they role play like cartoon characters or characters out of movies, animation, that type of thing. So, and superhero movies is really popular for them to do. So it's very, very interesting. But I also think you could just dress up as a superhero and not mean anything kinkish or BDSM or sexual about it, So let's go to the next person. Right. Joelle's story. I'm a modest person by nature, but I hold nothing against anyone for their personal sexual preferences as long as it doesn't involve kids or animals. What consenting adults do with their bodies is for them to decide. Yeah, I mean, personally, I would think it's horrible if anything like that involved kids or animals. Obviously, I do know some people actually have like sexual relationships with their horses and stuff like that. I don't know what goes on in that. I just know it happens. And I think I'm going to refrain from going there because I just don't want to be thinking about that, quite frankly. Right, Callie's story, page 278. As far as BDSM and kinks, I'm exceptionally supportive. I have never engaged in any of that personally, but I have friends who have, and honestly, I can see the appeal. Generally too sexual for me to ever try anything out, but I can see why people would be drawn to something like that. Again, that's very good when you can have like different people having different opinions and get on and see each other's point of view, isn't it? So Isadora's story, page 368. I also think it's entirely possible to be engaged in BDSM or a kink and not necessarily have it be sexual. Those things can be sexual for a lot of people, but I've talked to people with different kinds of kinks and things whose gratification is more emotional than sexual. They don't engage in, say, spanking for erotic pleasure, but to satisfy an emotional need. I personally am not into any of that spanking or hurting because I just see it as pain. That is my personal opinion, right? So, let's go. Right. Okay, let's go. Right, so this is Claire Evelyn's story on page 417. BDSM and kinks I find funny. I simply don't understand how people are aroused by them. Yeah, they're not my thing at all. And Darcy, finally, we'll conclude with Darcy, page 440. BDSM and kinks don't offend me. I'm just not interested in participating. So yeah, that's you can see the views of asexuals are very different. Some are kink and BDSM positive and can see the appeal and in favor of them. Others are just like, don't get me involved. And others are like, it's okay if people do it, if it's consensual and not abuse and not involving animals or, children and stuff like that and hurting things. So, as in the sense of like abusing things. So I think that's like quite a well-rounded view over all of things. It's quite balanced there. Like I said, personally for me, I'm not into any of that stuff. I don't like even the thought of it, and it's just not who I am. My exes, all my heterosexual exes, none of them were into BDSM and kinks as far as I know. None of them talked to me about anything like that or attempted anything like that, thank God. Otherwise I would have run a mile. So I find it quite interesting and fascinating in some ways that there are a number of asexuals who are into kinks and BDSM. And there is a group on Facebook called Non-Vanilla Aces. And I just thought it was different ways of like having a relationship in terms of physical intimacy. So because I got the grey area of kissing, when it said non-vanilla, I just thought it meant like not straightforward, as in grey areas. But then when I went in the group, I'm like, oh my God, this is about BDSM and kinks and fetishes. I'm still in that group, but I don't usually participate in it, and I don't usually look in it, hardly ever. But it's kind of there if I ever need it, and I needed to do some research or something. But yeah, I'm like, oh geez, they talk about tying up and like costumes and all that type of thing, and I'm like, not really my thing. But it's good for me to know about it in case I've got any people that I come across asexuals or friends of. Well, it'd be asexual because it's just for asexuals, that group. But it's good for me to let them know about that group if that's the type of thing they're interested in. But I was quite shocked. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's quite a lot into it. And on asexualitic.com, which is a dating website for asexuals and forum, they have forums there as well. But it's mostly used for dating. But some people try and make friends on there, right? They have a group specifically for people into BDSM. So, there's quite a lot of asexuals that do that without actually having the sexual intercourse. So it's very interesting. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you for now. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Share it if you think anyone will benefit from it. If it's going to break a stereotype, bust through a myth. And don't forget to go subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live right now or post a new video. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Lots of love. Take care. Bye. Bye.